aside. Iran point 2, India has just landed a passenger jet using satellite instead of ground radio beams. I'll tell you why Gagan and Navik matters for India's aviation future. In point 3, another AIA DMK MLA quits as Vijay's TVK gains ground and the party's assembly strength drops further. With Stalin on one side and Vijay on the other, can AIA DMK survive Tamil Nadu's new political squeeze? And now let's take a quick look at the headlines. Delhi government clears EV policy, electric cars under rupees 30 lakh to be exempt from road tax, registration fees, subsidies for customers buying e-vehicles. In the high-profile Ketan Agarwal murder case, Sia Goyal and Chetan Chaudhary remanded to 4-day police custody till July 4th. Maharashtra government takes a major decision after the TET paper leak. Examination to be conducted online from next year. Panel to be set up to implement the transition. Court sentences accused in Ram Mandir theft case to 14-day judicial custody. Iran had invited Prime Minister Narendra Modi to attend the funeral ceremony of Ayatollah Khamenei. But India will be represented by Bihar Governor Lt Syed Hasnain and Union Minister of State for External Affairs Pabitra Margherita. The funeral ceremonies are scheduled from July 4 to July 9th across Iran, beginning in Tehran and ending with burial in Mashhad. India's decision comes at a sensitive moment in West Asia. Khamenei were killed in a joint US-Israeli strike on Tehran on Feb 28th. His funeral is expected to draw large crowds and foreign dignitaries. By sending official representatives, India is attending the ceremony, but by not sending the Prime Minister, New Delhi is keeping the visit at a lower political level. This is also in the line with India's earlier response after Khamenei's death. When the condolence register was opened, it was signed on India's behalf through the Ministry of External Affairs. Foreign Secretary was there. The gesture was official, but it was not led by the top political leadership. The funeral delegation now follows a similar approach. Foreign Secretary had visited the embassy earlier, as I mentioned, but this time too, Foreign Minister will not be there. India has important ties across West Asia. Iran matters for connectivity and regional access. Israel is a key defense and security partner. The United States remains a major strategic partner. The Gulf region is also important because of India's diaspora and energy interests. That is why India's representation at the funeral is being watched closely. On this issue, I am joined by Major General Sudhakar Ji, Professor Swaran Singh, and Raja Kartikeya, West Asia expert from Takshashila Institute. Let me straight away go to Raja Kartikeya. Raja, your thoughts on the fact that in both cases, Foreign Minister was absent.
Thank you, Kartikeya. I think this is a clear instance of where India is perhaps picking sides in this conflict without saying so. It's a hard balance to strike. As you said, India has strategic ties with Iran, but also has very close to the US and Israel. And since Ayatollah Khamenei's death was not a natural death, it was an assassination by the US and Israel, I think India does not want to anger them. But the choice is of people being sent is also very important. The MOS is understandable because the foreign minister can't go. But why General Syed Hasnain? Well, he is right now he is a Shia Muslim. He has headed the 15 Corps in Kashmir, which has a large Shia population and where Iran has pretty close ties. And third, I think it's also a fact to remember that he is the highest ranking Muslim in the government of India right now.
Okay. Let me just open this up. Okay, fair enough. He is the highest ranking Muslim in the government of India, as you said. But General Sudhakar Ji, in both cases, Jaishankar gave it a miss. Is there a signal here? I'm not talking about the Prime Minister right here. I'm just talking about foreign minister not being there?
Yeah, Kartikeya, good evening. Thank you. I missed out your initial narrative and the preamble that you gave because of technical glitch, but I get the spirit and the sense of your articulations. As regards the question which you have asked, I know General Atta Hasnain personally. I have been his student. He has been my instructor. He is a very capable, very outstanding, and one of the finest and very competent officer of the armed forces and holding high office.
So my question is very simple, that when the condolence book was signed, foreign secretary went there. The foreign minister was not there. This time the invitation was to the prime minister, the foreign minister is not there. So why have we chosen a MOS, Minister for External Affairs, and Mr. Hasnain?
Kartikeya, please allow me, because being a military man, the question willy-nilly cannot ignore the importance and the high office that a military leader is occupying. I cannot give him a pass. He is a very capable person and he can fit the bill. But having said that, let me comment on the primary issue which you are highlighting. First and foremost thing, I personally feel, this is my take. If I am wrong, I'm prepared to take all the flag. The Indian foreign policy, for a change, has shown very distinct departure of what we have been stating, that is strategic autonomy. When it came to bombing the supreme leader, the head of a state, and the 49 senior leaders on 28th of February, it was an uncalled for, unwarranted, unprovoked, illegitimate, illegal war which was unleashed on any country. It may be anything. Not that I'm siding with Iran, not in the side of the terrorism. In 21st century, out of the blue, there is a peace dialogue going on and there is a solution in hand. The Omanian foreign minister was running between Oman to USA to meet Donald Trump. He could meet him. He meets J.D. Vance. He asks him a question, why all this? For the first time, we have found a solution. So under this situation and circumstances, a thing has happened and India failed to call it out. I personally feel, as a student of geopolitics, actually I'm getting very, very, flustered and confused. What is a foreign policy? And the foreign secretary takes 5 days, meekly goes and puts his signature and comes back. It is not one man rule or one political dispensation. It is a nation of 1.46 billion people. Everyone has got sentiments. Everyone has got emotions. It is a country which is called, we have with great sacrifice, we have earned the reputation of being the voice of the voiceless. And now we have gone voiceless. There is a vessel of Iran. They come for the fleet review. Our honorable president takes the salute. They came as guests. When the ship or the vessel was going south of Sri Lanka, you knocked it off without any warning, without the military norms. And that too, how many, 16,000 kilometers away from the coastline of America? Is that on in 21st century? There are many questions which are coming up. So therefore, to answer your question, I personally feel India needs to look at the entire gamut of activities in a futuristic manner. Iran is not to be taken as part of West Asia. Yes, I understand it is part of West Asia. West Asia as a whole has to be seen as a kind of an immediate neighborhood. If India doesn't do that, then forget about the dream of $30 trillion economy by 2047 or earlier than that. We are playing into the gallery, into the hands of USA. This must be called out loud.
Okay. Professor Swaran Singh, your take on the reason why we have decided that MOS MEA is going to go. Your opening comments on this.
Okay, thank you, Kartikeya. I think it's a very cautious approach to show respect, but minimize any political exposure. So we notice that the governor of Bihar is being sent. Who's going there, as has already been said, more as a Shia Muslim, as a military leader, and of course someone who really represents the strategic community of India. Who will be able to connect with several military leaders who are today in the helm in decision making in Iran, and perhaps gauge what is the thinking there, what is happening, etc. So in that sense, it's an application of caution, but I do agree with the Major General saying it was, to put it politely, an aberration that a long-time leader of Iran was assassinated along with a large number of power elite, and India virtually stayed silent on that. But we also should notice a very piecemeal, gradual, cautious attempt to balance slightly from where it began in the first 3-4 days of the war, when it began at end of February. The kind of reaching out that India has done is constantly, incrementally showcasing India's effort to also balance, but within all the constraints that India's foreign policy operates. And I have been on your show saying earlier also, India's non-alignment is not purely, neutral in that sense. And we have noticed earlier also in history, non-alignment tilting towards one or the other side. At some stage, we were very close to the Soviet Union despite being non-aligned. So yes, there is no doubt that India appeared clearly leaning on one side of the divide. But, India has perhaps in very cautious fashion tried still to keep the door open and gradually, in fact, incrementally increase the level of engagement. And therefore, formally, Ministry of External Affairs is being represented by Minister of State. And of course, General Syed Hasnain is going there. And I think that is an effort to basically say that we do respect the ceremonies and we want to be there, we want to be seen there. And very quick last point, I was just looking at, there is still time, but the kind of countries that Iran is claiming have kind of confirmed of sending delegations. These are largely neighborhood countries, mostly Muslim countries. So not just India, I think large number of countries have shown that kind of caution where they want to not really appear to be taking sides. And also remember, even now, despite all the conversations that are happening in Switzerland, shooting is still going on. I mean, United States is hitting destinations in Iran, and Iran is responding by attacking Kuwait and Oman and Qatar and so on. So it's a very, very, very vulnerable situation.
So
in that sense.
basically, if I keep out America, let me shift the gear. Raja Kartikeya, if I just keep out America, I think Indian investment is higher on the UAE side. I think we have chosen where to invest, which is Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE. If I just keep the Americans outside, I think that's the region I think India has chosen, not Iran.
There is no
I'll
doubt
say
that
this.
India
I have
has
actually
built
been
relation
in. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, I can hear you.
I have. So every year, there is at the Mashallah in Tehran, there is a ceremony for Ayatollah Khamenei, and I have been in these ceremonies in multiple years, and they keep count. They see the level of representation. The Iranians are extremely meticulous at this. It matters a lot to them. So the level of representation matters a lot to the Iranians. They're very protocol sensitive. So I hope they've thought this through in not sending the foreign minister. Yes, it's possible that UAE and Israel are more important to us. That's why, like I said in the beginning, I believe India has picked a side, at least the government of India has picked a side in this conflict without saying so. And there may be consequences, but that's what all the signs indicate. That we are not condoning the US and Israeli actions, but we're definitely not condemning them either in the way we have gone about it the last 3 months. The first 3 weeks, for example, when, as Professor Singh said, India made 3 calls to the foreign minister, but not a single call was made to the Israeli counterpart. In other words, it was about asking Iran to restrain itself in its actions, particularly aimed at the Gulf, and not so much about restraining Israel. So we were not trying to be peacemaker. We were just trying to protect our interests in the Gulf. That has been the focus of India's actions in this conflict all through. I think the Iranians might see this to be a very pragmatic path by India, and we'll see how this plays out and how this affects India's position in the country in the months ahead. But they're definitely, they're definitely keeping track of who we send and at what level.
Sudhakarji, is it just a shift which we witnessed in last 3 years, 4 years or 5 years, or this is a shift which has been in making from 1991 onwards, from Narasimha Rao's time, then Atal Bihari Vajpayee, when Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, I think 2005, 2006, when we chose to vote against Iran, we didn't abstain, we voted against Iran. Is it part of that larger policy shift from 91 onwards?
No, you're very right. There is a reason behind all this. You see, no approach will be justified which is related to foreign policy. Iran as a country has always raked up the issue of Jammu and Kashmir and always given statements against India whenever any international platform opportunity came its way. So be mindful of the fact. I'm speaking from a larger perspective. I have got a futuristic vision. I dare not share my thoughts amongst the very esteemed and very capable co-panelists. But what I'm saying is, here is Pakistan to the west of your border. You are unable to handle it. You have just started revoking or holding the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. And it's it is a pariah state. Okay, there has to be some strategy. Tactics without strategy is like, noise before the defeat. I've often made this statement in your channel. And in order to encircle or isolate Pakistan, strategy dictates that we need to have Chabahar, we need to be operational and active in our north-south corridor, 7,200 kilometers. We need to actually invest time, energy, resources, and relationship with Iran. So that is what I'm saying. If you're looking at to become a global power, damn the USA. How long are you going to keep towing the line of USA? Unless you encircle Pakistan, Pakistan is going to bleed India to will not be 1,000 cuts, millions of cuts. It will not spare India. Just wait, see what happens. There may be another Pahalgam carnage the way we are actually taking up. We need to be bold. We need to be absolutely, upfront. When you are dealing with a country like Pakistan to the west, it is not Pakistan alone. The Azerbaijan has come. Turkey has come in a big way. Qatar is flooding in money. USA is sitting and Munir is on the lap of the USA. China is playing its game. So therefore, you have to apply and evolve some kind of a strategy. If you abandon Iran, and these are small little, gestures, and there are protocols. I'm actually concerned. What would have India lost had we called out and expressed our condolence on the death of the head of the state on 28 February? We took 5 days or more than 5 days to come to their embassy and sign the document.
Okay.
So these are my moot questions.
Okay. So I'll take the question forward. Despite our best efforts to dehyphenate, like we tried to dehyphenate Palestine and Israel, visit of Indian Premier to Israel was dehyphenated from Palestine. We don't like when Americans try to hyphenate us with Pakistan. But if you had recently noticed, Vance was recreating that hyphenation. He was killing dehyphenation. When he said, I have to keep one Pakistani and one, there are two very important people in life, one Pakistani and another Indian. And I know what he was talking about, but it had a subtle message. So despite India's guarded positions, Americans still don't dehyphenate us.
I think that's a very clearly a recent phenomenon that President Donald Trump has found enormous friendship with General Asim Munir. He often publicly ignores Pakistani Prime Minister standing next to him while recognizing presence of the Field Marshal. And that is, again, like most things that Donald Trump does is unusual, to put it politely. But remember, United States is at war with Iran. And I think how far India can go in terms of standing by Iran is something that one has to really be careful about. And I agree with Kartikeya. This is not first time that India has kind of accepted the American demands on behaving in a certain fashion with Iran, even stopping imports of oil earlier as well in several occasions, or abstaining or voting against Iran. These are things that nations do. I mean, they kind of agree with each other depending on what suits their national interest. So at some stage or at several stages, India would have found it useful to, kind of agree with United States and behave in a certain fashion, whether it comes to Iran or Venezuela or any other country. So these are kind of tactical maneuvering that I think most nations do, but dealing with President Donald Trump is not an easy exercise. And therefore, I think the kind of caution that we notice that India took in terms of not condemning the assassination of Khamenei can be understood. It's an aberration, I agree, because there was a gradual drift already taking place with India, United States, Israel, UAE kind of coming closer in a quad, and that kind of drift was already visible over a period of time. But suddenly with the war, whether India had to now make a difficult choice of not condemning death of a kind of a long-term leader of Iran, that was a definitely difficult choice and has its costs. But remember, India is, I keep saying, engaging, and we will see how many countries send delegations at what level. And perhaps that will be a better way to judge as to what India is doing by sending Minister of State.
It's a signal that India, despite every problem, choose to remain invested, Raja Kartikeya, with the America. You know, that's the larger foreign policy sentiment, you know, that, you know, Trump will go, but we need to be invested with America.
Yes, definitely the US relationship matters. The US has, in a way, helped India's rise over the past 25 years. There's no question about that. I'll say one thing about Iran. It's a very sensitive relationship. Yeah. Of all the countries that have a large Shia population, India is the only country where Iran has not supported any, by and large, not supported any militias. This is something very significant. Now, in recent years, Iran's influence has increased. I mean, I remember there were some Shias from India also saying at one point,
yes,
they come on pilgrimage. Their pilgrimage is subsidized by Iran, and they raised slogans saying, Labbaik ya Rahbar, and in support of the leader. So that the religious patronage becomes very closely linked to the Iranian state patronage of these people. Now, that means that inside India, I think we have to be worried about a potential divide between those who are very supportive of Israel's actions and those who believe that Iran is fighting the battle for Palestine and therefore are supportive of that cause. This divide among the Indian population is not going to help us in any way.
Absolutely.
And that's why the relationship with Iran has to be managed very carefully while being sensitive to US sentiments on this. Honestly, I'm not so sure if sending someone like the foreign minister would have, pushed the United States beyond a point, on this issue, because there are so many other points of friction with the United States and points of cooperation with the United States. So I think, but whereas with the Iranians, this is a point of inflection for them, a very deeply sensitive point. So I would have perhaps, played this differently, but then I'm not the one making the decision.
I think that's a fair point. I don't know what difference it would have made to Americans, but for Iranians, it might have a different play. I've really run short of time. I thank all of you for joining me. This is all I had on point one tonight. But please don't go away. After a short break, I'll be back, and then we'll talk about something which is making us very, very proud. And I'm going to tell you about Gagan and Navik, because they are helping our passenger jets land safely.
Where knowledge, values, and modern entrepreneurship come together. That is the proud legacy of Central Gujarat. Now, the global development journey of Central Gujarat is set to take new flight. Initiated 2 decades ago by then Chief Minister and now Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, the vibrant Gujarat journey is creating unprecedented investment and employment opportunities under Honorable Chief Minister Shri Bhupendra Bhai Patel. Central Gujarat's chemicals, pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, aerospace, automobiles, IT, gift city and Dholera Smart City will gain a global stage. And other sectors like tourism will receive new momentum. Come, join us at the vibrant Gujarat Regional Conference, Central Gujarat. Regional aspirations, global ambitions.
Lion Host Family. Super इसमें है फाइबर, बीटा ग्लूकोन, प्रोटीन, मैग्नीशियम तत्व, इसलिए ये शारीरिक संतुलन के साथ साथ शरीर को स्वस्थ रखता है। लायन ओट्स फैमिली, सुपर एक्शन फैमिली।
Meet the tomorrow today.